Blood dripped from Eliza Morgan's trembling hands as she pounded frantically on the penthouse door, her vision blurring. She wasn't supposed to be here, wrong floor, wrong door, but with a bullet lodged somewhere in her shoulder and armed men surely climbing the stairs behind her, she had no choice. "Please," she whispered, legs buckling beneath her. When the door swung open, revealing the most notorious billionaire in the city, Eliza didn't see the cold-hearted tycoon from the newspapers. She saw her only chance at survival. "Help me," she gasped, collapsing against the doorframe. "They're coming." The look in Alexander Thorne's eyes shifted from annoyance to alarm as he assessed the bleeding woman at his doorstep. He'd built his empire on calculated decisions, yet in this moment, he didn't calculate, he acted. Pulling her inside and locking the door, Alex had no idea he'd just invited in the only person who could expose his darkest secret, or that she carried a flash drive containing evidence that could destroy everything he'd built. Alex pressed a towel against Eliza's wound, his mind racing. "Who are you? Why are they after you?" His penthouse security system beeped a warning. Someone was attempting to override the elevator lockdown. Whatever trouble this woman had brought to his door, it was serious. "I worked, in data analysis at Meridian Pharmaceuticals," she managed through gritted teeth. "Found something I shouldn't have, clinical trials, people dying." Her eyes, bright with fear and determination, locked onto his. "I didn't know where else to go. The police are compromised." Alex's blood ran cold. Meridian was his largest acquisition target. The deal set to close tomorrow would cement his status as the most powerful man in the industry. "Let me see the evidence," he demanded, helping her to the couch. Eliza's mind flashed back to 3 days ago, how ordinary that morning had been. She'd been cross-referencing patient outcomes when discrepancies appeared in the data for Meridian's breakthrough cancer drug. Deaths classified as unrelated complications, subjects mysteriously withdrawn from trials, falsified baseline measurements. She'd taken her concerns to her immediate supervisor, who assured her he'd look into it. That night, her apartment had been ransacked. The next day, her supervisor didn't show up for work. By the third day, men in dark suits were following her. When she tried to leave the city, they'd cornered her in the parking garage. She'd escaped by inches, fleeing into this luxury high-rise, accidentally counting floors wrong in her panic. She hadn't always been this person, someone who uncovered conspiracies and fled from gunmen. 7 years at Meridian had been preceded by a quiet childhood in a small coastal town, raised by a nurse mother who'd instilled in her an unwavering moral compass. "Data doesn't lie," her mother always said, "and neither should you." Eliza had carried that principle through her statistics degree, through her rise at Meridian. That same principle now had her bleeding in a billionaire's penthouse, clinging to both consciousness and conviction. Now, watching Alexander Thorne examine her evidence with growing intensity, Eliza wondered if she'd jumped from one danger into another. His reputation for ruthlessness was legendary. What if he was involved too? Over the next hours, as his private doctor removed the bullet and Eliza drifted in and out of consciousness, Alex reviewed the files. Each document confirmed what she'd claimed, and worse, implicated his own board members in the cover-up. By sunrise, he'd made his decision. He would protect her, not just because something about her stirred feelings he'd buried years ago, but because for the first time in his ruthless climb to the top, Alexander Thorne wanted to do what was right. "Your security team thinks I should be handed over to the authorities," Eliza said weakly on her 3rd day of recovery. The fever had broken, but she remained pale, her auburn hair framing a face too thin from days of stress. "My security team works for me, not the other way around," Alex replied, setting a tray of food beside her bed. "Besides, the authorities are the last people I'd trust right now. 3 police captains sit on Meridian's charity board. Why are you helping me?" Her green eyes narrowed suspiciously. Thorne Industries was about to acquire Meridian. "I've cost you billions." Alex's jaw tightened. "Money can be remade. Lives can't be brought back." Something dark and painful crossed his face. I learned that lesson too late once before. I won't make the same mistake twice. For 2 weeks, Eliza recovered in the guest suite of his penthouse. From enemies, they became reluctant allies, then friends. She saw beyond his carefully constructed facade, glimpsed the man who stayed up late playing chess with his elderly security guard, who donated anonymously to children's hospitals, who carried the weight of his younger sister's death like an invisible anchor. He discovered her brilliant mind, her passion for justice, her ability to make him laugh when no one had in years. In those quiet moments between strategy sessions, Alex found himself revealing parts of himself he'd kept hidden for decades. How he'd built his first company from a dorm room algorithm. How he'd fought through 3 bankruptcies before his breakthrough. The ruthless image the public saw was partly tactical, fear kept competitors at bay and deals favorable, but it had slowly consumed the idealistic young man he'd once been. I wanted to change the world once, he admitted one night as they shared a bottle of wine. Not just own it. It's not too late, she'd responded, her eyes reflecting a faith in him he hadn't earned but desperately wanted to. One night, he found her crying silently on the balcony. The families, she whispered when he approached. I keep thinking about them. People who lost loved ones and don't even know why. People who still trust Meridian's medications. He wrapped a blanket around her shoulders. We'll make it right. How? They're too powerful, too connected. So am I, he said simply, and for the first time, his ruthless reputation felt like a strength to her, not a threat. They spent evenings strategizing over takeout containers, building their case meticulously. Alex called in favors from trusted journalists, arranged secure servers for the evidence. Eliza's analytical mind impressed him more each day, she could spot patterns others missed, anticipate Meridian's potential countermoves. You could work for me when this is over, he suggested one evening. Thorne Industries could use someone with your integrity. Is that what you want? An employee? Her question hung in the air between them, loaded with unspoken meaning. Why risk everything for strangers, he asked instead, as they stood on his balcony overlooking the city lights. The same reason you're helping me now, she answered. Because sometimes doing the right thing is worth any cost. Their first kiss came unexpectedly, tender yet urgent, breaking every wall he'd built around himself. For one perfect week, they existed in a bubble of newfound feelings and shared purpose, planning how to expose Meridian without endangering more lives. I never expected this, he admitted one night, tracing the curve of her cheek as they lay tangled in his sheets. You. Us. What did you expect? She asked, watching the moonlight play across the harsh angles of his face, softened now by something that looked remarkably like happiness. To be alone. It seemed safer. His voice grew quiet. After my sister died from a misdiagnosed condition, I swore I'd build enough power that no one could ever hurt me again. I never counted on wanting to let someone in. Eliza pressed her lips to his palm. Sometimes the things we don't plan for turn out to be exactly what we need. Until the morning Alex's phone rang. We have your brother, said the voice on the other end. Bring us the woman and the files, or we'll send him back in pieces. Alex's face drained of color as he ended the call. His brother Michael was all the family he had left. The choice seemed impossible, the woman he was falling for, or his only brother. What is it? Eliza asked, seeing his expression. Nothing, he lied, his decision already made. Business emergency. I need to go out. He kissed her goodbye, memorizing her face, knowing it might be the last time he saw her. His heart had never felt heavier as he walked out the door. In his private car, Alex reviewed surveillance footage of his brother's kidnapping, provided by Meridian as proof. Michael had been grabbed outside his art gallery in broad daylight, a daring move that showed just how confident Meridian's executives were. Alex had always protected Michael from his cutthroat world, insisted his younger brother pursue his passion for art instead of joining the family business. Now that choice had made Michael vulnerable. "Sir," his driver interrupted, "we have a tail. Black SUV, 2 cars back." "Expected," Alex said grimly. "Proceed as planned." He made 3 calls. One to his head of security. One to a former military operative now on his payroll. And one to a federal prosecutor who owed him a favor, a woman whose cancer-stricken daughter had been treated with experimental drugs funded by Thorne Industries when all other options had failed. 3 hours later, Eliza discovered the truth. His laptop had remained open, the security footage showing Alex meeting with Meridian's CEO in an abandoned warehouse. The audio was crystal clear, "I'm giving you what you want. The woman trusts me completely. Tonight, I'll bring her and everything she stole to the location we discussed." Her world shattered. Every touch, every laugh, every secret shared, all part of his plan. The man she'd fallen for didn't exist. Grabbing essential evidence and the emergency cash he'd given her, she fled the penthouse, tears blinding her as she disappeared into the city. What she didn't see was the hidden folder on Alex's desktop labeled "Contingency," containing detailed plans to extract his brother while keeping her safe, plans now useless with her gone. Across town, Alex faced down Meridian's CEO, Harold Pierce. "Where's my brother?" "Patience, Thorne. Your brother's safe, for now. First, the woman and the files." "I've secured the files," Alex said carefully. "But I need proof Michael is alive before anything else happens." A video call revealed Michael, bloodied but alive. Alex's jaw tightened. Everything depended on what happened next. "The files first," Harold insisted. "Very well." Alex handed over a flash drive. "But know this, it's not the original. I've made copies. Harm my brother or myself, and everything goes public instantly." Harold's face contorted with rage. "You think you're clever? You have no idea who you're dealing with." Before Alex could respond, gunshots exploded outside. Security alarms blared. Through the chaos came a voice on the warehouse speakers, "This is the FBI. The building is surrounded." In the confusion, Alex found himself face to face with the last person he expected, Eliza, flanked by federal agents. "You betrayed me," she said, eyes cold as ice. "No," he responded, voice breaking. "I was trying to save my brother. They kidnapped him." A likely story. But doubt flickered in her eyes. "If you're lying again." "Check my phone," he said desperately. "The ransom call is recorded. I never planned to turn you in, Eliza. I was stalling while my security team located Michael." She hesitated, torn between the evidence she'd heard and the man she thought she knew. "Why didn't you tell me? We could have faced this together." "Because they were watching the penthouse," he whispered. "Every move, every word. I couldn't risk." A gunshot interrupted them. Harold Pierce had broken free, weapon aimed directly at Eliza. Without hesitation, Alex threw himself in front of her. The bullet struck his shoulder, spinning him against the wall. FBI agents swarmed, subduing Pierce as Alex slid to the floor, Eliza's hands desperately trying to stem the bleeding. "You idiot," she sobbed. "Why would you do that?" Through pain-glazed eyes, he looked up at her. "Same reason you risked everything for those trial patients. Some things are worth any cost." Later, as FBI agents processed the scene and paramedics attended to Michael, Eliza confronted Alex in a quiet corner. "Why didn't you tell me about your brother?" "Because you would have insisted on helping, on putting yourself at risk again." His hands clenched. "I couldn't bear the thought of you in danger because of me. So you decided for me." Her voice was tight with hurt. "You shut me out when we should have been partners." "You're right," he admitted, reaching for her hand. She pulled away. "I need time, Alex. I trusted you, and you lied, even for the right reasons." 6 months passed. The Meridian scandal rocked the pharmaceutical industry. Alex testified before Congress, transformed his companies with transparent practices, and searched for Eliza, who had vanished into a witness protection program. He channeled his grief into purpose, establishing whistleblower protections across his companies and creating a foundation for victims of pharmaceutical negligence. Michael recovered and joined the foundation's board, finally finding a way to merge his artistic sensibilities with his brother's business world. "You need to stop checking the secure email account every hour," Michael told him one rainy afternoon. "She'll contact you when she's ready." "And if she never is?" Alex asked, staring out at the gray sky. "Then you honor what she taught you by continuing the work," Michael replied simply. "Though I've never known you to give up on anything you truly wanted." The months of separation had changed them both. For Alex, the transformation was visible in his company's new direction, in press conferences where the once reclusive billionaire now passionately advocated for industry reform. His board members had been replaced, his leadership style fundamentally altered. The man who once made decisions solely based on profit margins now asked a different question first: is it right? For Eliza, change came in learning to trust her own strength. The Witness Protection Program had placed her in a small Midwestern university town where she taught statistics while helping the ongoing federal investigation. She'd cut her hair short, dyed it blonde, answered to a different name. But in quiet moments, she found herself missing not just Alex, but the purpose they'd shared, the feeling that together, they could fix what was broken in the world. The truth was, they'd become better versions of themselves through each other. And neither felt complete alone. On a rainy Tuesday, he returned to his penthouse to find her sitting in his living room. "How did you get in?" he asked, heart pounding. "Your security still remembers me." She stood, uncertain. "I read about the Alexander Thorne Foundation for Clinical Trial Victims. About the whistleblower protections you've implemented in your companies. I had a good teacher," he said quietly. She took a step closer. "I also heard you've been looking for me." "Every day," he confessed. "Eliza, I have conditions," she interrupted. "No more secrets. Equal partnership in everything. And you have to understand that I'll never be the kind of woman who just fits into your world." His smile was slow, genuine. "I would never want you to be anything but exactly who you are, the woman who knocked on my door and changed everything." "It won't be easy," she warned. "There are still people at Meridian who escaped prosecution. People who would love to see us fail." "Let them try," he said, closing the distance between them. "We're stronger together than apart. I learned that the hard way." As they embraced, both knew this was just the beginning of their story, one that had started with a single mistaken knock, a moment of desperate chance that had altered their lives forever. Ahead lay challenges, rebuilding trust day by day, merging their separate strengths into something unstoppable. 1 year later, they stood together at the opening of a new research facility dedicated to transparent drug development. Eliza, now co-director of ethics at Thorne Industries, addressed the crowd while Alex watched with undisguised pride. "Sometimes," she concluded her speech, "it takes one moment of courage to change everything. One decision to stand for what's right, even when it's difficult. One mistake, like knocking on the wrong door, that turns out to be exactly where you were meant to be all along." That night, on the balcony where they'd first begun to fall in love, Alex knelt before her with a ring. "You taught me that the greatest risks bring the greatest rewards," he said. "Will you take one more risk with me?" Her answer was a whispered yes that carried all the certainty they'd fought so hard to find. 3 years later, they welcomed their first child, a daughter they named Claire, after Alex's lost sister. The nursery overlooked the same city skyline where they'd once plotted to take down a pharmaceutical giant, now transformed into a sanctuary of hope and new beginnings. The journey hadn't been without challenges. Several Meridian executives had attempted retribution, launching smear campaigns and frivolous lawsuits. But with each attack, Alex and Eliza had grown stronger, their partnership proving more resilient than any corporate strategy. "Do you ever regret it?" Alex asked one night as they stood on their balcony, Claire sleeping peacefully inside. "That bullet? That wrong door?" Eliza leaned into his embrace, feeling the steady beat of his heart against her back. "Not for a second. Some people spend their whole lives looking for purpose. I found mine the moment I knocked on your door, both in the work we do and in us." They had transformed an empire built on ruthless ambition into one founded on integrity. The Thorne-Morgan method for ethical pharmaceutical development was becoming the industry standard. And in their personal life, they'd created something neither had believed possible, a family built on complete trust, where secrets had no place and vulnerability was strength, not weakness. "We should tell our story someday," Alex murmured against her hair. "About how sometimes getting lost leads you exactly where you need to be." Eliza smiled, turning in his arms. "I think people would like that. The billionaire and the whistleblower who changed each other's lives with one mistaken knock. Sometimes the wrong door leads exactly where you're meant to be. Sometimes one moment of courage changes everything. And sometimes, the greatest love stories begin with a mistake." If you enjoyed this journey of trust, betrayal, and second chances, remember that life rarely gives us perfect beginnings, but it's what we build from our mistakes that truly matters. Like and subscribe for more stories that remind us all how one unexpected moment can change everything.